Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 6. And what this video is going to be doing is giving some analysis on Daryl after the events of Always Accountable. He had quite an experience with Dwight and Sherry. Really could have been something that may affect him later on down the road. And I'm really going to analyze if this experience will have some effect on the way that his character is later on in Season 6. Now, if you are not caught up with The Walking Dead, if you have not seen Always Accountable and you do not want to be spoiled, then don't watch the video because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay, so as we know, what happened in Always Accountable was Daryl ran into this group of three by the name of Dwight, Sherry, and Tina, and they took him prisoner. They believed that he was part of the group that they came from originally, that they left, that the three of them ran away from. And they took him through the woods, held a gun to his head several times, threatened to kill him. And Daryl takes the opportunity to escape at one point, and he takes their duffel bag, but he discovers that inside is insulin, which Tina needs because unfortunately she's a diabetic. He decides to go back and help them. He allows them to, not be captured by the saviors. The four of them are basically going back through the woods. Tina ends up dying because some walkers bit her. Daryl wants to take Dwight and Sherry back with him to Alexandria. He asks them the three questions. He likes their responses, and he invites them to go back. Well, Dwight and Sherry betray him. They hold a gun on him, take his motorcycle, take his walkie-talkie, his crossbow, his supplies, and they just leave. And they basically leave Daryl in the dust to, take care of himself. If we remember, Daryl's character in general, one of the things that I think that really defines Daryl as the character that he is trust. That is something that Daryl has struggled with throughout his life and on the show. We remember in, his recounting of his history how he lost his mother at a very young age because she died in bed when she was smoking and the bed caught on fire. His father was very abusive, and Merle was in and out of juvenile hall. So at times Daryl really, had trust issues, could he trust these people? Could he rely on these people? Count on someone to be there for him when it was needed? And really that's what's resulted in Daryl becoming very self-sufficient. And in many ways he still can take care of himself. But, you see throughout the show, when he was with Merle, the original plan was for them to rob the camp. They were going to rob the camp, take the supplies back in Atlanta, and just, to heck with everybody else. And as time went on, Daryl really, I think, stayed with the group because of safety in numbers. Obviously, if you have a bigger group, it's better to stick together. And Daryl really didn't have a place, for a while. He was struggling to really find his place, and he eventually did. And, he becomes this very important member of the group and a great asset to Rick, literally his right-hand man, if you will. And again, we see Daryl's trust tested again. Would he stay with his prisoner, his group back at the prison, or was he going to go with Merle? And he chose to go with Merle. Blood ran thicker than quote unquote water, if you will. Just the connection that the brothers had was a lot stronger in Daryl's mind. But when he really sees his brother's true nature, he realizes that who he belongs with is back, with the prison at Rick's group. And he does go back. And once Merle dies, you see Daryl really becoming a leader, stepping up in the community. He basically takes care of people at the prison. And he becomes very familiar with everybody. He cares. People look up to him. And that is something that he enjoys. It's something that he's never had before in his entire life. And then, of course, once the prison falls, he kind of loses his way for a little bit. It takes Beth's encouragement to really, get Daryl to realize again that, yeah, people are going to die and you're going to lose people, but that doesn't mean that you should shut yourself off from them. And that it wasn't necessarily Daryl's fault for everything that happened. And since then, we've really seen Daryl take on this role of really wanting to help people, that this is his passion in life. And we've seen this with him becoming a recruiter for Alexandria. He wants to help people. And he wants to take a chance that there are good people out there. And of course, he does end up bringing back Morgan. But if you remember back in the season 6 premiere, Rick and Daryl fought about that. Rick said, hey, you shouldn't be going out on any more runs. There aren't really good people out there anymore. We shouldn't be bringing anybody back. And Daryl says, well, no, we need to do this. This is something that I feel is necessary. This is something that I feel will make the community stronger. And he tells Rick he does disagree with him on that he does still want to go out. And of course, we see this with Daryl going out. Of course, it was just for the mission to, get the Walker herd away. But he took the time to really get to know Dwight, Sherry, and Tina, to judge them, to see if they were Alexandria, standards, if you will. Now, one thing that I will say, though, is just in general with people, sometimes it's really hard to judge people. And, sometimes we make judgments wrong, or we don't see immediately some of the things that these people really are about. We find that when we get to know people, sometimes when we meet them for the first time, we hang out with them a couple times, they really do seem like really awesome people. And sometimes you do. You meet people that you click with that are really, really amazing, and you have lifelong friends, maybe even a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever your preference. So, sometimes you do have those experiences and you really get to know people, but other times, after the first impression is done, you find that there were things about this person that you didn't realize, that you do see their true nature. Sometimes it's when they interact with other people. Maybe it's when they get drunk. Maybe you find out that they're into some kind of very terrible practice, maybe illegal things. You never know. But, sometimes it is very hard to make a judgment call. And I think that even in the Walking Dead world, for Daryl, I remember back to the time when Aaron told Daryl, the difference between a good person and a bad person. Well, that's a very hard line to figure out. And I think that this really showed it, because a lot of us really thought, that Dwight, Sherry, and Tina were not terrible, evil people like the governor, the cannibals, the claimers. You don't see that in them immediately. And it's not so much that they are evil people. It's just that, trying to make that trust and getting people to trust you and what you're saying is a hard thing to do. I mean, you saw it with Rick back when Aaron tried to take him and the group back to Alexandria. Rick was very, very hesitant about even going in the first place. And I can't blame him. But it took a lot of convincing and a lot of tests and a lot of luck and trust that really got them there and established. With Dwight and Sherry, it's not necessarily so much that they are evil people, because I feel like if they were, they would have shot Daryl. I feel like if they truly were the terrible people that you would think that they are, I think they would have shot Daryl in the back of the head and just taken off with everything. So you can tell that there's still some conflict within them, but what it's about is, at the end of the day, what side are you going to pick? Are you going to trust, or are you going to betray people's trust? And I think that this experience is really going to sit with Daryl, and he's going to have, I think, a little bit of a hard time trying to figure out where to go from here, because maybe he feels like he has been too trusting of people. It's kind of like polar opposites, and where's the middle ground? Because some people, they're either on one side or the other. They're either too trusting or they don't trust anybody, and neither are necessarily good positions to have in life. Where's that middle ground? And with Daryl, I don't think that he is necessarily on one side or the other, but I think he's still trying to really figure out where the middle ground is. what do I do to make these people trust me? And the fact that Daryl did so many things for them that he did not have to do, I think is it's really shaken him. And I think that it's really going to sit very hard with him that he, took that insulin back. He, risked his life to get those people who we think are the saviors to get away from them, by shaking that branch, by setting up everything so that guy got bitten, um, you know, protecting the three of them. For Dwight and Sherry to just turn around and take his things and leave him stranded, I think that's really going to sit very hard with Daryl, that he's going to be very upset. I mean, you saw it in his face. He said, you're going to be sorry. I don't know if he would necessarily kill them, but I think that if he would ever catch up with them again, that he would really make them feel exactly how he felt in that moment. Maybe leave them with nothing. That might be something that he would do as retribution, and just as a lesson. Hey, I trusted you, you betrayed me, you're not coming back with us, forget it. Or if you do, it's going to be, in a more restricted manner, which again, I would not be surprised. And I think they are going to run into Dwight and Sherry again. But in what context is hard to say. Are they going to find them on the side of the road, wrecked with the motorcycle, or are they going to find them, surrounded by walkers? Maybe Daryl does save them, or maybe he just, wants to keep on going, and maybe Abraham and Sasha get out and save them. Maybe they end up at the walls of Alexandria, and they don't realize this is where Daryl said they were, and maybe they take them prisoner. A lot of possibilities here could exist. But I think from here, we may see Daryl kind of agree with what Rick's position was, that maybe this experience has shaken him to the point where he may not go back out. Or if he does, it's not going to be for a while, or he's going to be more cautious than ever. Because, looking at Dwight and Sherry firsthand, you would not think that they would betray you. And they did. And I think that's really going to be something that Daryl is going to have a hard time dealing with. And how he's going to go from there, I'm not sure. Again, I think he still wants to help people. I don't think that it's shaken him to that extent. But again, going back out there, would he even do it? He may not. He may say, you know what, Rick, you're right. Ran into these people. There aren't good people out there anymore. We need to focus on what we have here. You're right. I'll do anything for these people, but I'm not taking chances out there anymore. And again, we have other storylines coming up in the comics. The Paul Jesus Monroe storyline from the hilltop. And you saw in the comics the way that when they ran into Jesus, what did they do? They knocked him out, tied him up, and put him in a room. And they were not very trusting. He's telling them all about this community. He's telling them all about these things. And Rick is very cautious. And I think that maybe if Daryl is a part of this, he may exercise extreme caution as well, remembering what happened to Dwight and Sherry. And, this may lead to the group at a later point, this reaffirming of the position after dealing with the wolves, after Daryl's experience with Dwight and Sherry. I think the next people that they come across, they better exercise extreme caution. And I think that the individual will be Paul Jesus Monroe. And I think that the way that they handle themselves in that manner is what, is going to reflect on their experiences with these other groups. So do I think that Daryl is going to do a complete 180? I don't think he'll necessarily do a complete 180, but I think that his faith in people has been shaken quite a bit. And I think that his focus will turn more towards Alexandria and maybe not towards recruiting as much. And if they do run into people, I think that you're going to see Daryl exercising more caution than what he did with Dwight and Sherry. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm right? Do you think that Daryl will react different? Don't be afraid to leave your comments. I do appreciate reading them, responding to them. You guys are very intelligent on your Walking Dead material, and I enjoy talking with all of you. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. If you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.